Hello, this is Mr. Hatton, and today what we're going to work with is an introduction to PowerPoint. So each computer is going to be a little bit different depending on which one you're using, but this is the basic screen when you just first launch PowerPoint. So all I've done up to this point is launch the PowerPoint program. If you're on a Windows computer, you'll go to the Start menu. You can either search for PowerPoint or it may already show up on the quick links that you can go to. But so this is the screen that you'll go to, and you'll see that we have some options for how we want to open a program. There are some preset templates that we can use, but today, since we're just getting started, we're going to open a blank presentation. So we're just going to click there, and then we see this is our basic introduction to PowerPoint. So we're going to go over the very basics in this video. And so the first thing to know is if you've used any Microsoft application software before, is that they use a ribbon system. So they've got ribbons with the different tabs going across the top, sort of like different file views. And so each of the tabs is going to have a specific theme as far as what it's going to be working with, a different set of tools on each tab. And each tab, as you can see I'm clicking through them, has its own ribbon, which is what we call this bar that moves across the top that has all your different commands. All of your commands are also divided into groups, and so if we go back to the Home tab and look on the ribbon, we've got Clipboard, Slides, Font, Paragraph, Drawing, and Editing. And so with each one of these, it's going to give us an idea of where we can find the different tools for what we're going to use. Also, just some things to note, that on the side, the default view is to give us an outline view. As we add slides, you'll see each of them appearing here. Since we've just started, we only have one slide showing. And then we have this main section where we can actually work, and this is where we can actually make some changes and actually start writing and creating our PowerPoint. Some other basic tools that we may want to know about is that we have what's called up here at the top. So we've already talked about the tabs and the ribbon, but we also have what's called the Quick Access Toolbar. And what we have up here, this is a set of tools that does not change. So typically you would want to have something in your Quick Access Toolbar, the tools that you're going to use a lot, your commands that you're going to use fairly frequently. The default is going to be set to have an option for save, undo, redo, and then this one is actually different from Microsoft Word, but this is going to be where you can actually start and present your presentation. If you want to customize your Quick Access Toolbar, there are a couple ways to do that, but the most or the easiest way to do that is going to be just click this drop down right here that allows us to customize our Quick Access Toolbar. So if we wanted to add, like if you're creating new presentations often and you just wanted to be able to start a new one without going to File, we can click and add that, and you can see that now an icon has appeared up at the top that's going to allow us to create a new slide whenever we click that. So as you can see, when we're moving through our different tabs, our Quick Access Toolbar stays the same that we can work in. Another note about the tabs and the ribbons is that there are some tabs that are actually hidden right now that only become available based on the elements that you have. So if we're going to actually a sample shape, and this is just going to be to show how it gives us a new set of tools. So we're going to, I just inserted a shape here, and you can see that now it actually added a new set of command options on our ribbon, and it gave us an entire new tab, our Drawing Tools format. And so we'll get into the specifics of these later as we continue in working with PowerPoint, but just know that there are some tabs. So if you're trying to go through and you're looking for a certain tab, it may be that either you don't have the right elements selected or you don't have that type of element on your page, and so those tabs will sometimes only show up if you have that type of element in your document. So I'm actually going to click and then just hit delete on my keyboard to get rid of the shape that we just drew, because we're really not ready to start working with shapes. I just wanted to show you the additional tab options that can appear. So we're going to add some sample text just so we can start working with it. So we're going to call this Introduction to PowerPoint. And so with this, now we have some text entered. We can see some of our first options here. And so I'm going to go ahead and select this text just by clicking and dragging over it. And I want you to see that actually there's a mini toolbar that appears when we select that element. We can double click or triple click to select all the text there. And we can see that our mini toolbar appears. This gives us just some of the basic options that are going to be mostly found within the Home tab. So if I go to the Home tab here, you'll see we have the same options that we had with our mini toolbar, that we had bold, options with font, options with size, some commonly used features that can be applied to text. If the mini toolbar is showing and you don't want it to, you can just press Escape and it gets rid of it. It will deselect it and you can rid of that text. Another important navigation feature that will save you time in the long run is if you learn to use shortcuts that are on the keyboard. Shortcuts are keyboard commands that you can use, usually in combination with pressing Control on your keyboard, that will allow you to do certain options without having to go find the right tab, find the way to click that. So some examples, they actually all will appear. If you just hold the mouse over top of a command, it will give you, we can see here the shortcut for bold is Control+B, and so that would make text bold. If there is a shortcut command preset, as you move your mouse over top of that command, it will show you what that shortcut is. So we saw that Control-B is for bold, Control-I is for italics. And so remember, you do have to have the text selected that you want to change. So I just clicked and dragged over the word introduction on my keyboard. I'm pressing Control and B. You can see that it made it bold. And then we will take PowerPoint. And on my keyboard, I'm pressing Control and I, and we can see that it makes it italics. There are a lot of different shortcuts that can be used, but again, so you can start learning those as you go through them. If there's one that you know that you're using, you can always look it up by just moving the mouse over top of that command. Some will not have a shortcut, like in this case, shape fill does not have a shortcut on the keyboard, but many of them do have those options. And so another very, very important beginning element to know about when you are creating a presentation is how to save that presentation. And so the way to do that is the same way that we've used in other Microsoft application software like Microsoft Word. But in case you have not seen that, there are a couple of different options for save. And they're going to be found, the main way to do that is going to be found under the File tab, which will actually open up what we call the Backstage view. When we click on File, it's going to give us some options, give us some information about the presentation, the author's name, when it was created. We can add categories, titles, other elements to that are not going to show up on the document but are information about the document. And then there are, over here on the left-hand side, there are a list of commands that we can use. We could open up a new document, we could open up an already previously saved document, and then the two commands that we're going to look at when we're thinking about how to save is that there is save and save as. And this can be confusing if you have not worked with Microsoft application software in the past. So what you need to know is that the first time that you save a document, you need to use save as. Because what save as actually does is it creates a new save on your computer. And so it's going to start something brand new. Even if the document was already saved to something else, it would create a new document of that same document. And then you could actually end up with two separate versions of what started as the same document if you're using save as. So remember, save as is going to be used the first time you save a document, and it creates a new file on your computer that can be used. Save, on the other hand, is just going to update the already existing document. And so in this case, because we have not saved it yet, if we click save, it would actually take us through to what the save as options would be. But if we click save, it will just update what was already there. And so it's important to know that that's what's going to happen. If you've made changes to a document and you click save, it will overwrite your previous document. So make sure that the changes that have been made are what you want to actually stick, because if we click save, it overwrites that. It updates the document with whatever it was saved as to whatever the name of your new document is. So since this is the first time that we're going to be saving this document, we're going to click Save As. And I'm going to save it, in this case, to the PC. And I'm going to save it just to my desktop. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to call it, it guesses what you think that the name should be just based on what the first text is that's on the document. So because the title was called Introduction to PowerPoint, it's suggesting this is a name. We could change it to whatever we want. There are some limitations as far as what characters can be used. We're going to call this Mr. Hatton. We probably can't use the apostrophe. Mr. Hatton's Intro to PowerPoint. And so now that we give that a second to update, you can see it took me out of the Backstage view, but now we have this option up here. Or not an option, but it's given us in our title bar, which is this very top bar. It's in line with the quick access toolbar. But now it changes the name to the name of the document that we're in. So now that it has been saved, we're going to see the name of the document up at the top. So then when we're thinking about saving, now if I made it a change by Mr. Hatton, then now if I wanted to make sure that that change saved, or that save changed, we could just click this icon that looks like a floppy disk up in the left-hand corner, click that, and now it has actually saved those updates to the document. So now if I were to close out of it and then open it back up, it would have my most updated. It did not create a separate document, it just updated the one that was there. If I went back and clicked File and then Save As, what that would do is it would actually create two separate documents, so I'd have to give it a new name, and then the new name and Mr. Hatton's intro to PowerPoint would both be saved on my computer. Another basic introduction element are going to be some options that are found down in this bottom right-hand corner. And so the first thing that you'll see is how far are we zoomed in on the document. Just mean how big do we want the text while we're working with it, or if you're trying to add details to one specific area, how can we do that? And so this bar here tells us that we're zoomed in to 69%. We can click the plus arrow. As I do that, you can see that the text is getting bigger as we're moving in. It's also telling us what the percentage is. We can back out if we wanted that to be there as well. And then if you're zoomed in, you may, if you zoom into a certain point, you can see that it actually gives me a scroll bar. It automatically creates one at the bottom so that I can move around on the document. I'm going to zoom back out, which we can also use our zoom under the View tab. This is just a shortcut to it, but we can do the same thing. So fit to window, if we want it to fit exactly in this area where we're working, we can give it a specific percentage that we want to zoom to. But that's just an easier way to do this right here. We can also click and drag along the bar if you know to a certain point. The other options that we have down the bottom are some of the layout views. So you can see that we're in normal view right now, meaning that we have our outline down the side, then we have our main section that we're working in. I'm going to go back to somewhere around 100% just to make it fit onto the one page. But so we have a few other ways that we can look at this. We can look at the reading view, which just gives us one slide at a time. I don't have an option to move because I've only got one slide created right now, but that would allow you just to read them one slide on a page so that you can see an idea of what that would look like. We can go to a slide sorter view, which if I added more slides, they would be just showing up in different frames. Almost would look like a comic book that it's moving just the frames along. You can reorder the frames in the outline or in the slide sorter view if you decide that you wanted to be in a different order. Another option that's going to appear as a default down in this bottom right hand corner is the possibility just to put it into a slideshow. So if you wanted to start presenting, I just click that. I'm actually in presentation mode now, and so if I had more slides, I could use the arrow keys, or if you're using another device to advance your presentation, it could be done through this view. I just press escape to get out of that. And so those are some of your basic ways to view the presentation. So I'm actually going to go back to the normal view now, just to go back to that default one. So it's here on the bottom as well. We could have changed there also within the View tab. But a navigation point that I forgot to show you earlier is what are called the dialog box launchers. So most of your groups that are on the ribbon have this, it looks like a box with an arrow pointing down to the right. These are called your dialog box launchers. What these are going to do, they're going to give you more commands within that section. So the clipboard's a little bit different. It opens up on this left-hand side. Most of them, because I don't have a lot of text, it's not giving me a lot of options. Here we go, when I select some of the text. So within font, it gives me the basic options that are the most used options as a default on the ribbon. But if I wanted to get into more specifics or change something in more detail, I could click that dialog box launcher, and it just opens up a command window that gives you more options and more choices when you're trying to create that. We'll get into the details of these as we go later or further into this unit. We'll look at each one specifically and break some of that down. But just know that that is an option to give you more command options, and those are called the dialog box launchers. So that's it for our basic introduction for how to navigate PowerPoint. Check out some of the other videos to see some of the other basics and tools that you can use as you're working in Microsoft PowerPoint.